Hey, Gen X, and welcome back to another episode of What's Next, Gen X. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Anne Marie, and What's Next Gen X is a podcast for Gen X by Gen X. And we bring together the Gen X community so that we can provide information and inspiration so that you can help level up your career, life, and impact or find your what's next.
All right, so Emery, you know we love a good title to an episode.
I know,
This
this one's a
one,
good
we are
one.
bringing back a classique. That's all I have to say. And it fits because we have a wonderful guest today. So if you hold on for one more day, does that help you, Anne Marie?
Hold on for one more. Yeah, I know.
Hello, thank you. The Wilson Phillips
Yes.
song,
All right.
1990, Hold On,
I
Hold On.
know. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that lyric hit differently in the 90s, and now in this moment of life, it hits even harder. So today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about bouncing back, she's lived it. Lisa Bien is a motivational speaker, author, transition coach, and the founder of Lisa Bien Enterprises. Hopefully, I'm not butchering her last name. We'll talk about that in a minute. Her resume is stacked, but it's her real life that makes her message so powerful. So we're talking about someone who's faced two divorces, job loss, bankruptcy in the same month, and then got back up, turned her pain into purpose, and built a platform that now helps thousands bounce back with clarity, confidence, and courage. She's the author of not one, not two, but three books, including Life Happens, Bounce Back, and she's worked with everyone from Fortune 500 companies to folks just trying to pick themselves up after a hard season. So, with that, let's welcome Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Oh my God,
Hello.
I'm so excited to be here. And you did not butcher my name. You said
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
perfectly. So thank you.
Awesome. Just wanted to make
It's been butchered and there's a whole long story about my last name, but we won't go into that today.
Well, we are so excited to have you. And this is going to be one of those episodes to where, again, it's like that little caffeine boost. We're going to be like the hype squad
Yeah,
for the people who need to hear this. So thank you so much for
yeah.
being here.
This
Oh,
is
my
gonna be a fun
pleasure.
day. I'm just letting all of our listeners know. All right, Lisa. Like, yeah, right? Totally. Let's just jump right in. Like, I have to hear a bit of your background. Share a little bit about how you got here today.
I don't know. I think I drove from Arizona to the
There
beach.
you
That's
go.
where I am now.
For sure. I warned everybody. I warned everybody.
um, you know what? It's actually been like a calling for me, I guess, Anne Marie. It's been like, part of my story, 15 years ago. I remember sitting at my kitchen table. I had lost my job, my second divorce became final, and I had to declare personal bankruptcy all in 1 month. And I was like,
Oof.
oh God, what am I going to do now? Right. So, and it was 2009 and it was in the beginning of a recession. So when I hear the word recession now, I'm like, I got this.
Okay.
Bounce back. We
I
can
can do
all
that
do
in my
that.
sleep.
Yeah,
Like, not the first, not the last.
exactly. Same with divorce and marriage, not the first, not the last, maybe the third's coming. I don't know. I'm only kidding, but
Oh no.
but you know what? It's just always been a desire in my heart to help women, especially, understand that we can love who we are. We are worthy. We are good enough. My whole platform is all about that. I started with really sucky self-esteem, to be honest with you, and walked into job interviews and really confident in getting it. And then you get the job and then you're sitting at the table and you're like, I'm not going to ask that question. It's a stupid question, but it's not a stupid question if it's your question. But it's all about what we say to ourselves internally, and it's all about how we
Mhm.
feel about ourselves. And so I've been on this mission ever since this 15 years ago, even longer than that. Because I remember, guys, I don't even know, I'm way older than you, but okay. There was a book, there's an author, her name's Louise Hay. She's like,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh
I
yeah.
remember reading her very first book. God, my oldest son is 30 now. And so he was a baby. That's how many years. I
Yeah.
always say, like, I'm a student of self. I'm a student of life, and I'm definitely a student of people. And I realize that we all carry the same baggage. We just mask it differently, and we just hide, our insecurities. And we all have them. Like every single
Yeah.
one of us has stuff. Nobody's life is, perfect. But the beauty of life is that you get to redo whatever you want to redo, and you get to create your best life the way you want
Yeah.
to do it.
Mhm.
Did
And
I
I feel like
answer
so
your
many of us
question?
that started like kind of, the self-help journey, like the Louise Hay books and the Gabby Bernsteins and all of that stuff, we started digging into as Gen Xers because so many of us weren't taught that. Like we weren't taught about anything about how do we take care of ourselves, not just like pay our rent, but literally like what do we need? Like what do we need from an overall like journey? Like what is important to us? Like how do we feel? What all of that. None of that was in our vernacular when we were growing up. It was get a job, get a mortgage, get a house, get a husband, get like everything, right? It was yeah.
100%, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what I say, Emery. Like we aren't taught that. We aren't taught how to say no, right? It's okay to say
Yeah.
no. We're not taught how to have really uncomfortable but super healthy conversations with people we love. Because
Yes.
what happens? We stop really telling our truth and speaking our truth because
Yeah.
we're scared. So I taught at Temple University for 15 years, right? So while I was teaching at Temple, I realized that exactly what you said, Marie. My students would come to me and they'd say, Professor Bian, oh my God, my rent is later. They had all these things and they couldn't manage. And it was that point that I realized that we teach kids, we teach kids,
Yeah.
go to school, get a good job. In elementary school, it's, memorize all the states and do all this, but we never really teach people how to live a great life. And it's something we can
Yeah.
learn. And we need
Yeah.
support and we need help. So that's where my whole platform really started at Temple University for
Yeah.
my students, where I created the TV show Bouncing Back with Lisa Bien. And it was the best gift of my life because I got to meet people from all over and they shared these incredible stories with me, really heartwarming, stories about their life. And they just shared so freely.
Yeah.
So I really believe it's my personal responsibility to honor what they shared with me all these years and keep going with this message and sharing that we get to love ourselves just the way we
Mhm.
are. I don't really care. Like I used to look in the mirror and be like, if I would just lose weight, or oh God, if my nose didn't look so big, like all these different things. And now I'm just like, hey, beautiful. Like I wake up in the morning and I look at myself and I tell myself I am beautiful. Because you know what? If I don't do it, if I don't tell myself that I'm beautiful, nobody else is doing it for me. Nobody else is
Right.
doing the work for me. And that is a major message that I share as well.
And I think some of the thing is it's not too late to start, right?
Oh, it's never too late. It's never too late. I'm going to be 59 this week, guys. It's my birthday week. I'm very
Happy
excited.
birthday.
Happy
It,
birthday.
it is never too late to start. In fact, I mean, you really get to start over moment by moment if you think about it, right? Like you try, even with like weight loss, you try to lose weight, so you
Yeah.
ate the cookie. Okay, it's not the end of the world. You can just say, okay, I ate the cookie. I didn't really need the cookie. I didn't want the cookie, so I'm going to start my next moment. I'm going to eat something healthy. I think we just all put so much pressure on ourselves
Mhm.
to be a certain way and just be you. And something I learned when I had my first child was everybody wants to give you advice, right? Everybody wants to tell you, like, put them down and make them cry and make them go to. I don't want to make my kid cry before he goes to sleep. Like, that's my choice, right? And people were so
Mhm.
judgy and, self-righteous on how to raise your kids because everybody wants you to do it their way. They want you to
Mhm.
do it their way. And guess what? There's not one way to live your life. It's your way. You take the
Mhm.
nuggets from what, self-help books and, podcasts and motivational speakers like myself, and then you get to decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. But when you're hanging out with people, I always say you got to like the circle of you is really important part of my what I teach people is who's in your circle, who's in your circle, and are they lifting you up or are they making you feel that their way is the right way? But I love to remind people there's no one way. Do it your way. And it took me a long time, a very long time to realize that. And Nicole, to your answer, you're never too old to start fresh and to start new. I moved across the country 2 years ago to Arizona because I wanted to start something fresh and new, and it was phenomenal. In fact, I think the older we get, the more we should take those risks. We
Mhm.
should go out and do things that make us uncomfortable because when we are uncomfortable, ooh, I love that word, uncomfortable, that's where the growth starts. It's so sometimes it feels so like, oh my God, I'm drowning. I'm out in the pool, right? I don't have a life jacket. I'm just sitting there and holding my head up above the water. That's where the growth happens. That's where the magic takes place.
You
for
know,
me.
I'm sitting here and listening to you, and I'm reminded that this is actually the 40th year anniversary of the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And when we think about what we were then, as far as, excuse me, Gen X, you know, here you have these people from different cliques coming together and bonding,
Mhm.
and yet we're still doing it as adults from different parts of the world coming together and bonding
Yep.
as Gen X, because we remember what it was like what you guys were saying with the story of, you know, do good in high school, then you go to college, you'll do good in college, and then you get that job. And we all had the same blueprint. I don't care if you were in the West Coast, in the Midwest where I was, or in the Northeast, or in the South, we all had the same blueprint. And now we're kind of rebelling in our way as far as that blueprint, because we want to change some stuff up, because we still feel like, hey, I got some years ahead of me, but I don't want to keep doing the same thing I was doing. So yeah. So it kind of just
Well,
reminds me of what you were saying as far as, you know, the circle of you and loving yourself. I think we're all kind of like, as far as Gen X, we're kind of getting back in that groove again, because the beautiful thing is that what we didn't get from our parents, we don't look our age. We're living longer. We realize in our 40s and 50s, we're feeling good. So I want to take this time where I'm feeling good and do something outside of just either sitting in a cubicle or, you know, just, you know, stressing about my 401k and this and the other. Like, what else can I do?
well, we were fed that. We were taught that that was how you were going to live happily ever
Yeah.
after. It's like a box that was given generation to generation to generation. And I used to, when my kids were growing up, I have two boys. I would tell them three things. I don't know if I should say the third thing, but I would tell them three things. I would say, don't get married young, travel and see the world,
Yeah.
rent, do not buy a house because a mortgage is the quickest way to get sucked into the, you know, first we have to buy the house, then we have to get the bigger house. And then I used to tell them, I'll say it nicely. If you're going to have a lot of sexual activity in your life, make sure that you use protection because, you know, I don't want to be a grandmother too young, but also like why, you know, that can be
Yeah.
that could
Yeah.
impact your entire life. So when they were
Yeah.
super young, I'd be like, here's three things, you know,
Yeah.
make sure you do it, make sure you think out of the box. And I'm really proud to say that both of my kids think out of the box. They don't live the traditional life. And sometimes it's frustrating, right? Like I taught them both, like, you know, this is your life. You get to make your decisions, you know, and sometimes as a mom, we're like, well, don't you think you
Yeah.
should? Which I hate that word should personally. And my
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
no, I don't think we should. This is our life, and you taught us how to live our life. I'm like, oh God, I hate being good at what I do sometimes.
All right, Lisa. So listen, let's pretend you're talking to a Gen Xer. What are the three things you're going to take? Right. It's probably not going to be the last one because I think we all know that one. But like, it's probably going to be travel, right?
Well, it's definitely going to be travel. I think it would definitely be to love yourself, to learn, to
Yeah.
take.
Mm.
I think the first thing is to, number one, it's most important is really to learn how to love yourself, because once you learn how to love
Yeah.
yourself and be kind to yourself, and this is an important one too that I myself needed a reminder a couple of weeks ago, is to have some grace, right? We all need to have
Yes.
grace on ourselves because we just, God, we live in a time right now that is just, you got social
Yeah.
media, you have the news, you have your own internal dialogue. And I think something I would say is learn how to love yourself, learn how to be kind and compassionate, and stop listening to the nonsense that's in between your ears. It's all nonsense.
Yes.
And it's just a thought, right? We have these thoughts that go in our heads and we're like, oh wait, that might be right. They must be, you know, I must be too, whatever. And to really identify what you're telling yourself, like listen to what you're telling yourself every moment, because the person that you spend the most time with is you. It's
Hmm.
you. And you, like, you gotta love who you are. I mean, there's not every day. Listen, there's days like, yes, I woke up yesterday, I was tired. I literally, you know, that expression, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I knew it. And but I know myself so well that I was like, okay, so what's happening here? What's going on?
Right.
Why are you grumping? What is it you need? And you know what I needed? I needed to move. So I got up and I did my 3 mile walk, right? I live right by the beach now. So I went on the boardwalk, I walked on the beach, and I moved. And that, like, moving helps us create a new energy, a new feeling. I came back, felt so much better. So when you
Hmm.
take the time to get to know you and go on this journey of get to know you. Like we spent so much time trying to get to know
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
Get that energy
Yeah.
and get to know yourself.
All right,
Right.
Lisa. So you created your bounce back philosophy, obviously from lived experience. We talked about that. So can you walk us through the mindset shift that has to happen before the real change begin? Because let's just face it, Gen X, we're set in our ways, right? Sometimes it is what it is. I mean, we've been through some stuff, we've been through some things, and we're
Right.
still going through things, whether it's, we've talked about it, older parents, the R word, because I think right at this point, retire is like not even something a lot of us are even considering, especially
Yeah.
now. You talked about kids, some of his older kids. I always say I'm an OG mom. I have a 9-year-old. You know what I mean? So some people are kind of be like, yeah, this sounds good and all, but they put the but. So where does the mindset shift come in?
Dude, it's all about mind shift. Dude, where'd that come from? Like, dude, it's
Hey,
all
again, I have a 9-year-old boy. I'm bruh, dude.
bruh. I was gonna say
Yeah.
bruh. I'm all about the bruh. My 21-year-old says bruh. Um, that's a great question. And I'll tell you where that this mind shift comes from. It's your gut, it's your
Mm.
belly, it's your desire. Because in my 4-step plan, okay, so I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps real quick, and then I will explain to you. It's about, you know what, Nicole, the shift happens when you've had enough of living a life that you don't love, because no one has come back in from the dead and said, oh, guess what? You get another chance. The shift happens when you've had enough, right? When you're like, I can't take this anymore. I've had enough. Like let's take a divorce happens. Okay. So I was divorced twice. Your shift happens is, number one, you wake up, and my 4 steps are get clarity. Number one, what's real? What's happening? It's clear my marriage is not working. I got to do
Yeah.
something about it. Number two, which is really important, and I tend to go way into this one a little bit too much. You got to watch your boundaries with yourself. Is number two is get real. Like, what role did you absolutely play in that situation, right? And I
Mhm.
can tell you, the first time and the second time I got married, I was probably super immature, didn't really know what I was looking for. I thought, hey, marriage. He asked
Mm.
me, I said yes. The big wedding is so fun. I like weddings so much, I had a second big wedding. If I could have all the money back from like divorces and all my showers and my whatever. So you get clarity. What is it you want?
Yeah.
Then you get real. And then you get a vision, and you're like, okay, what is it I really want my life to look
Yeah.
like? What is it I really want? And I had a mentor, one of the best mentors in my life, and she used to say to me, Lisa, dream. Give yourself permission to dream and think about it. We all talk about dreams, but we don't really like think about it. So before I went to bed, and I still practice this every single night, before I go to bed every night, I say my prayers, and then I dream. I close my eyes. I think, what do I want my next day to look like?
Mhm.
My next week, my next month, my next year. And next thing you know, you've created that life. And so then we come to the last one, which is get going, and we work together and we create a plan of how you're going to stay motivated, and how you're going to
Mhm.
move, and how you're going to take action. Because let's face it, guys, there's a ton of us out there, motivational speakers, and we're all great. We all have different messages. And you go to a conference, you've probably all experienced it. When you go to a conference, you walk out and you're like, woohoo, that was
Yep.
the best. I'm going
Yeah.
home and I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah. You're
you
on
get
that
home
high.
and you're like this super high, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you're like, wait, what did I learn? How am I going to do this?
Mhm.
Oh, it can wait till Monday. I love when someone says, I'm going to wait until Monday. Okay, why can't you just start now, right
Yeah.
now? Because when you really get tired of being in a bad relationship that's not working, when you really get tired of not being in shape, when you really get tired of being in a job that's not respecting what you say and not paying you enough, when you get tired of all these situations, you're going to stand up for yourself and say, I've had enough. That's the shift. You're going to do the steps, and then you're going to change your life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what Nicole knows this. So one of the things I say is start before you're ready. Like that's that whole weekend thing, right? And I think so many times now that we're older, right? Especially if you've been around the corporate world, like no product gets released, right? Until it's like somewhat ready, right? And you're like, guys, you just got to start. Like you don't wait till you're ready to start running a marathon. You got to start with the first step of running. Like you have to start. You literally just have to start and you have to start figuring it out. Yeah.
Anne Marie, I love that example. I will tell you a really funny story. I ran for 3 miles years ago. I was running 3 miles every day on a treadmill. I was like, oh, we have a run here in Philadelphia area called the Blue Cross Run, and it's this big run. It's 10 miles, and I went there, and I saw a friend. So I decided I'm going to do that run after only spending 3 miles on the treadmill.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can do 10. Why not? Now I get to the race, right? And I'm like standing there and I see all these mile markers. And this woman comes up to me and she's like, hey, what mile are you? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just run on a treadmill. And she's like, okay, so how long do you run? I had no idea how I was supposed to stand at my mile marker. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I did it. And then listen, my time wasn't phenomenal, but I ran 10 miles for the first time in my life. Was I ready? Absolutely not.
You just got to do it.
Got to do it. I did stand-up comedy for a couple years. Was I funny? Yeah, but was I ready? Absolutely not. I thought I was funny. I don't know if the audience did, but
that's awesome.
Right.
So one of the things that happens in midlife, right, is we always have these, I think there's two things, right? It's sort of in the same way. Sometimes we're forced to make midlife transitions, meaning layoffs, divorce, right? Those kinds of things. And the other is sometimes we have a midlife crisis, right? Which is sort of refiguring, either way, you're figuring things out again. So like, how do you, like in working with your program and your coaches or your students, like, how do you rebuild self-worth when you're going through those major identity crises? And so especially for Gen Xers, because we say, hi, I'm Anne Marie, I'm VP of whatever, right? Like it literally like our identity is so tied up. And even midlife crisis, like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Yeah.
What a great question. And thank you for asking that question, because I think we all need to get real and remember that we are not that damn title, right? Like I remember when I was young and I'd say like, oh, I had a CEO one day and I was telling him all this stuff, and I was like, don't worry, I'm always going to be here on time. Oh, and he said to me, number one, it's you first and then your family. And I always remember that, right? So we're a human being. We are not, like, when you're going through a divorce, you're not the divorce. It's a situation that you're going through, and people need to remember that. Anne Marie, I felt like the worst when I was going through my first divorce, right? I remember driving over the bridge in Philadelphia one day, going to work and thinking, oh my God, how can I tell people that I'm getting divorced? It was awful. And then Princess Diana got a divorce, and it was on the news that day that she was going to get divorced. And I was like, wait, if she can get divorced, I can get divorced.
And billions of people are judging her.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I realized, you know what? It's just a situation that we go through. It doesn't define us in the same way our job titles don't define us.
Yeah.
Because what defines us is the type of human being we are, the way that we treat ourselves and the way that we treat others, and whether we're, being kind, being loving, we have to really focus on your core values. And I think it's super important that we look at our life resume and not our work resume. And I think people need to understand there's a difference. Our life resume, what have we done? What does it look like right now? What's our relationships like with our family? What's our relationships like with our friends? And that is where the circle of you comes in, where I go through all those different circles, because everything comes full circle in our life. And the center circle is you. So when you can look at your whole life, you take a step back, look at your entire life from the point of, how are my relationships happening? Are they meaningful? Then you'll understand and appreciate that, you know what, that title, it's not so great. Sometimes that title comes with a big salary, that comes with a big time commitment away from the people that you love. So I think it's really important that we prioritize, understand what really matters in our life, be heart-centered, like what truly matters in your life. And I always say, I talk about death, and it makes people really uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't really care. Death is happening. We're all dying.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, right?
Right.
Exactly. And so
Right.
I always would say, especially when I was in the middle of my career, what do I want to be remembered for? What is going to be written on my tombstone?
Mhm.
When I'm laying in my deathbed, am I going to be like, oh God, I remember when I worked at Lockheed Martin. That was I was the VP
That's
of
right.
communications. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I
Right.
think it's really important also to remember that my father taught me this at a very early age. As quick as you put all your heart and soul into a job, they're gonna as soon as you leave, they're gonna replace you. Like they
Like
functioned
that.
without you. They
Yes.
functioned without you for all these years. They can function without you after you leave. And
Yeah.
it's so true. And it's about priorities. And it's like that's why I
Yep.
love the
Yeah.
circle of you. I get all excited about it because it's helping you look at your life and what matters. Ask yourself what matters.
Yeah.
Write your life resume and your work resume. I
It's
don't really care about your work resume.
Yeah, Lisa, it's so interesting that you said that because I recently met with a client and she was so caught up on 30 years in the company. What are people going to think? Her title, because they're getting ready for a position. She's got to apply for new jobs, this, that, and the other. And with what you were saying, as far as what's on your tombstone. And I told her, I remember outside of the military, I have never seen a tombstone where it
Yeah.
had like your ranking, your job, how well you did.
Yep.
And the people who are actually going to come to your funeral are not going to talk about, oh, she was a great worker. Oh, she was so good with snacks. Oh, she was, when I saw her in the break room, she was
Oh,
splitting.
she closed that deal? Like
Yeah.
nobody.
Oh, let
Yeah.
me tell you how much money so and so made. They're not going to care about that. But it's amazing we get caught up in that. And I guess this leads me to this question of you said you work with women. And I remember starting out too, having a mentor, and I was kind of like, that whole like niche thing you got to find thing. And he was like, Nicole, there's 8 billion people in the world. If you work with women, that's 4 billion. You're acting like you've already have 100 million clients, whatever. He was like, there's 4 billion women for you to meet. Just think about that number. So with you,
Hmm.
were you very intentional when you were saying with you wanted to work with women because this is stuff that you experience as a woman, like you said, this is your calling? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I think the reason that women are so I think men hide their lack of self-esteem a little bit better than women do. And I used to say that I think women are born with this gene that's called insecurity and low self-esteem for some reason. So it's really just probably that it resonates. Now,
Mm,
when I was at Temple and I wrote my first book, Life Happens, Bounce Back, I had a lot of men, a lot of my male students
Yeah.
read the book and they loved the book.
yeah,
I just resonate to women because I think women we get caught up in the career. We want to have it all. We want to have it all. We want to
yeah,
have a career. We want to have a family. We want to have kids. We think we want to have it all. Let me say that, right? And then we get it. We get it all, and then we're completely overwhelmed sometimes.
Right.
It's hard. I mean, I was a single mom more than I was a married mom, and it's hard to balance your life and work full time and take care of kids and really be present. And then we forget about who? We forget about ourselves.
yeah,
And
We're the
that's
last on the list. Yeah.
yeah, we're last on the list when honestly we should be first on the list, right? And
Right.
so and that's what I like to remind women about that you need to be first on the list because it's just like when you're in an airplane, right? What do they tell you? Put the oxygen mask on yourself
yeah,
first, and then everything else will fall into place. And it's
yeah,
true. I mean, I remember when I was a young girl, my mom used to say to me, you better take care of yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And I
yeah,
live and breathe according to that. And I share that with women all the time.
Hmm.
yeah.
Take care of yourself. Because what
Hmm.
good are you if you're not
Yeah,
healthy?
I mean, I remember my grandmother and my mom used to say, even when I was younger, and the idea of like getting married and all giddy and all that, they were like, yeah, but have a separate account. They're like, it's just nice to have your own money. And I
Yeah.
remember, when you're younger, you're like, no, we're gonna share everything. Yeah, and then as you get older, you're like, oh, now it's what?
Yeah,
Separate
not so
account.
much. Right. Yeah, I think it's
But it's
interesting because
but it's not like you're hiding anything. It's just it's nice to have your own. Like I have met women who to this day ask for permission, and I'm always just kind of like, say what now?
no,
What you talking about,
no.
Willis moment? Because I'm
She,
grown. I'm a grown ass
yeah.
woman who works. I let my
No.
husband know I'm gonna do something. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're at, it's not even asking. It's like, or if I,
Yeah.
tell him, hey, this is what I'm gonna do because it's a courtesy. But on the same token, I'm gonna do it because I work hard and we're in this together. But as far as like me asking for anything, please.
Yeah. So
Well, I love Michelle Obama. I always have, I always will. And I just love recently how she didn't attend certain events
yeah.
with her husband, and
Yeah.
it was like news, right? And I kept reading like they're
Right.
getting divorced, and I was like, wait, this has got to be fake news. There's no way they're getting. And if they were getting divorced, then I was like, okay, I'm never getting married again, because to me, like they're like the perfect couple, right? Like who doesn't love the Obamas, right? So I was like watching and I even called my son. I'm like, oh my God, I hope this isn't true. They can't get divorced,
The
right?
fact that that was news was so crazy because I'm
I
like, me and my
know.
husband do it all the time. We always do stuff separate.
Well,
Or,
that's so great, though. That's my
right.
point. Like, we need to learn how to be separate. We're human beings. Like, for some reason,
Yeah.
I think when we get in relationships, Nicole, we think, oh God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are. It's health. It's okay to be Lisa, Nicole, and Anne Marie and be in healthy relationships
Yeah.
and love who we are and inspired to be better every single day
Yeah.
and love life. We get to do that. And the reason I talk about death is because we act like we have all the time in the world, and we don't. We just don't know when it's going
Yeah.
to happen. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
wake up and I say, today's going to be a great day. 99% of the time it is. Every now and again it's not. I'm like, okay, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. That ain't happening.
Right.
So the other thing I see, especially Lisa, I'm sure you see this too, is that women, like you mentioned, like we have all these different roles, and we try to give up over 100% every role, right? Like
Mm.
think about women that are just working so many crazy hours at work, and they're just giving everything into it, and then it's like you have nothing. Like something happens, like company goes under or whatever, like, and you have nothing because you've given everything to them or everything to your husband or everything to like all of this, and it's something where it's like midlife is the time to try and figure out like are you giving too much of yourself, like what's left for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what, Anne Marie, I would challenge you a little bit on that, because I don't even think it's midlife. I think it's every day of life. Like that is why I
Correct.
created the circle of you, right? So like
Yeah.
even when you're in, like I created the circle of you because it was how I lived my life. Like it was literally started out as a pizza. It took a circle and I was like, okay, what slice is happening? Here's my family,
Yeah.
here's my
Mhm.
friends. And then the circle of you is a great way to look at your life and say, what's working here, what's not, what's off balance. And guess what, someone once asked me, Marie, they said, what's it like being a single mom? You have, you know, and you're working full time. I was working in Center City. I had an amazing life. And I said, there's no such thing as a perfect balance. There's just absolutely no such thing as a
Yeah.
perfect
There's
balance.
Doesn't exist.
So
Yeah.
throw that idea out the window, right? Like I was
Right.
the mom that showed up at, like, I never went to a PTO meeting, and I was okay with that. I didn't really care because I knew I couldn't. I only had so much energy in my life, you
Yeah.
know. And then the Halloween parties would come and they'd be like, who wants to volunteer? Not me. But I knew that I'd send in the cupcakes that I went to the store and bought, or ever occasionally. I didn't kill myself to make them.
Yeah.
I didn't try to be superwoman. I tried to just be
Right.
me and
Love
stay
it.
within my
And I think
boundaries.
that's one thing that as women you learn sometimes the hard way, but that the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
and you know, people automatically think, oh, you turn a certain age, you have these great boundaries. But honestly, Anne Marie and I run into women, you know, at that age, at that midlife age, where they're still trying to figure it out because again,
Yeah.
they always, like you said, with your pizza, have always given away all these different slices. And then
Yeah.
one day they're kind of like either they're empty nesters or they're just exhausted and they don't want to keep filling other people's cups. So it's like, well, when's somebody going to fill my cup? And I think this is the if you've never said no, start it today. It's the most beautiful time. It's the most beautiful thing you could do is say no and walk away. You don't have to explain yourself. I mean, I know women now in their 30s and 40s that have the most amazing titles. I mean, the work they're doing is amazing, but they say no, and it's still a doctoral thesis attached to it. Like, why are you
Yeah.
explaining yourself? You are over 300 people. You said something, period, and let's walk away. Like, keep it
Right.
moving.
Oh,
So,
100. I used to be the queen of explanation. Well, I'll try. Or now
yeah,
I love when I get invited somewhere and someone will say something. I'll say, "Can I think about it? Can I get back to you?" Because I don't really want to say yes all the time. And one of the things I advocate for in my first book, Life Happens, Bounce Back, is to learn how to say no. And when I'm trying to learn a new word or a new habit or
yeah,
anything, I take sticky notes and I wrote no was the first example, and I wrote no all over like 25 sticky notes. And then I had them all over the house, in my car, anywhere, so that I could remind myself that it was perfectly
Yeah.
okay to say no. That it's, you know, and to your point, Nicole, you don't need to explain to anybody why you said no. Just say no. And it's your right. It's your God-given right. And it's just like when you wake up, when I say wake up, I don't mean in the morning. I mean, just wake up as a human being. When we wake up and we realize, we worry so much about what other people think. Stop.
Yeah.
No one's thinking about you. That's the reality of it. Like no
Yeah.
one is really thinking about you all that. Like we think people are sitting at home thinking about us. They're
Yes.
not.
Thinking
They're
about us or looking at us. We always think
They're
somebody's
not.
worrying about us. Looking, it's like
Yep.
burst your bubble, but you're really not that important. I mean, you're important to certain people, but like on
Right.
the world front, you're really not that important.
I know.
You're important to your people, and that is
Right.
again that's so key. I always say,
Yeah.
who are your people and who do you put your energy into? Because
Yeah.
I used to be the girl in my 20s, probably early 30s, you know, I had the dream job. I was married. I had you know,
Yeah.
I had a ton of friends, and it made me feel good. And I realized, why do I need all these friends? Why do I need all this? Because I had to go on the journey, especially after my first divorce, of really unpeeling the layers of who I was
Yeah.
and what I stood for. And I never really took the time to do that before. So I always say, life is like a treadmill. We get on it and we decide the speed. And sometimes we need to get off the goddamn treadmill and look at, we do, like, it's like
Yeah.
enough. Get off the treadmill, stop. And if one more person tells me they're busy, okay, we're all busy. I get it.
Yes.
Don't get us started on the busyness.
Don't even
I'm
get me
like,
started.
and the
Don't get me
busyness,
started on
like-
that B word because I will.
like it's BS-ness. Is what, like,
And you know what else kills me with that? They act like I'm not. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just so busy. Yeah, I get that, but I still make time for the things I want to do. So it's an
Correct.
excuse. That let me tell you, we had to do a whole summit on just the B word.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I again, I keep coming back to the circle of you, but that's why I created it. Look at your life and why
Yeah.
are you so busy? Where's all your energy going? Why
Yeah.
do you feel drained? You know, there's so many women that I coach, and they're like, well, after I talk to my friend Mary or Susie, I never feel good. Okay, so why do you keep going back to your friend Mary or Susie? It's like a drug. Like, why do you want
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
going back for more
Yeah.
abuse? And there's really only so many different types of personalities in our lives. Once we figure that out, then we can really take a closer look at why do we keep going back to the same personality? We have to break that cycle. There's so much that goes into that.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this, right, what is one small doable action step they can take this week, immediately, today, not waiting till after the weekend, right? What can they do to start moving forward?
To start moving forward, I think the first thing is to understand where they want to go. So it's easy to say they want to move forward, but what is one actionable step? But where do you want to go? So number one is get clear on like really what is it you want to do? Because I think a lot of times we say we want to change. Well, what do you want to change? Is like what is it you really want to do? So I think a great way to start reflecting on what your life looks like and how you want to take your steps is to start journaling. Journaling is really, really incredibly therapeutic and helpful. And I say, write every morning, because this is what I do. Take a blank. It doesn't need to be a fancy journal. Just go to CVS or buy a white piece, whatever. Don't type. Write. That's the thing too. Don't type. Write. When we write, it helps us get so much clarity. And just write. Just write your feelings. Just write what's coming in your mind. Write what you're thinking, and start looking at that. And then write a letter to yourself. Write a letter to yourself and write all the things that you love about yourself, because we tend to really look at the first things that we don't like the most. I say celebrate yourself first. So write a letter, write an I love me letter to yourself and tell yourself everything you love about yourself. Then write things that you wish or you want to change. That becomes actionable, Anne-Marie, because then they're like, okay, so I'm really good at this. Like, where nobody's perfect. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody has the perfect life. We all have a brain and we have a hand and we have paper and we can write and journal and then start thinking about, dreaming about what is it you want your life to look like, and really take a deep dive. And there's something else that I do. I've done this myself and I coach women on doing this. If you really want to be brave, ask 3 of your closest friends all about who you are. When you hear me, what do you think about me? Take a personal inventory to your friends. Ask people almost like a review, because we also think that we behave in a certain way, and maybe we don't. Maybe we're not even aware of what we're putting out there. So I think the first actionable step is to get clear on who you are and where you want to go. Like, what is it you want to do? If you're in a miserable job, if you're in a job and you're waking up every single day and you're going to a company and you're like, oh, is it Friday yet? Ask yourself, what would make you happy? What would life look like if you didn't have that job, if you had a different job? Ask yourself really hard questions, but ask yourself, what is it I really want my life to look like? What is it I want my to be like with my husband? What is it I want my relationships to be with my best friend? Right? Figure it out, and then figure out what you can do to help make it even better. And honestly, there's nothing more powerful than having an honest, healthy conversation with the people that you love.
Yeah.
But first, you need to know what you need to figure out.
Yeah,
So I
no,
would say
that's awesome advice. And I think we're at that age. I think the beauty of being at this age is we still have choices.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. There's so many choices,
Yeah.
and that's just it too. Like, people say, I want to be happy. Okay, well, what is it going to make you happy?
Yeah.
Is it losing weight? Is it a new job? Is it
Yeah.
your husband? Like, what is it really? But it really comes back to us. It always comes
Right.
back to us. We get the power. We have to keep our power, and maybe sometimes we give our power away, and we have to look at that as well. Like, there's so much, but I would say number one is get clear when you say, I want to change. What is it you want? Really understand with all sharp clarity, what is it you want to change?
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. So Lisa, this is amazing. And you have an amazing workshop coming up on Wednesday, April 23rd. So tell us a little bit about your Circle of You workshop.
So that is it. I actually love this workshop. This is my opportunity. I too, I love, it's great when you get to say, like, I love what I do.
I love this workshop. Yeah.
It's a 90 minutes, and I say 90 minutes only because I want people to have time and understand that they can come in and take all the 90 minutes, or they can jump in, do the Circle of You. But I walk everybody through a little bit about my story, a little bit about my background, and then we just jump right into the Circle of You. We go through all the 6 circles. The first circle is health, wellness, and we just kind of look at every circle and say, how's it going? We assess our life. Friendships, we totally spend time on friendships, because everybody thinks every friend needs to be like your best friend and up in your orchestra seats. Nobody. So we go through the whole, like, friendship. We go through family. We go through finances, because that's really important for women to focus on as well, because they need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet as well. But finances, wealth management, community involvement, like, where's the balance? And then at the end, when we have all these 6 circles and we look at them and we identify them, we're like, whew, that was exhausting. Some women literally have called me, or when I do it in person seminar, they will cry. They're like, oh my God, I haven't found God, because we talk all about God. We talk about spirituality. And then I take a big circle, and we take a big circle and we go through all the 6. And I say, okay, so this is all the outside noise in the world today. This is all outside noise. What are you doing? What are you doing to protect your head, your life, your heart, the core that matters the most to you? Because when you look at that Circle of You, you get a clear vision on where your time, energy is going. And then you ask yourself, is this where I want my time and energy to go? Because life is not going to get easier right now, right? It's the world, and the world is a little upside down, kind of like, since it seems like since COVID, the world has really not settled into a place, and so it's easy to blame others. It's easy to blame your job. It's easy to blame your friends. Let's take some personal responsibility and check out the Circle of You and see where you can make your life better.
Well, I think the biggest thing I love is that the fact it's free. And I think if people are worrying about it right now, to have somebody still offer something free, this is huge. So that's big. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Yeah, my son told me the other day, he's like, Mom, the problem with you is you want to help everybody, but you want to do it for free, and you can't always do everything for free. So this is the way I feel like I'm giving back. It's the workshop, and it's my opportunity to let people get off, the treadmill of life, slow their roll for a minute, take a look at their life and say, okay, what's working and what can I tweak?
Yeah.
What can I make better?
I love it. And like that fits in with what we talk about all the time. You have to figure it out first to figure out what's next. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you got to know what you
Yeah.
want to do. Like, because there's so many, it's like social media. There's so many platforms you could be on.
Yeah.
Like, which one's new and shiny, and next thing you know, you're trying to take care of everything, and it's not going to work.
It's not
just
working.
not.
Not.
That's
Nope.
awesome.
Nope. All right. So, where can everybody connect with you?
They can connect with me on my website, of course. I was going to say on my social, but I am on all social sites, and it's lisabn.com for my website. Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter. What do we call it these days? I mean,
All of it.
I'm even on TikTok. I love TikTok, but yeah. So you can just lisabn.com. Go
Awesome.
to my website.
And we'll put all of her links in the show notes,
Yes.
and you'll see it on our What's Next social media. And just like Lisa said, like follow What's Next Gen X, we're what'snextgenx.com, and of course across all social, and of course Nicole at her site renewedimpact.com.
All right, Lisa. So thank you for reminding us that bouncing back isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about acknowledging what happened, finding your power again, and choosing to move forward on purpose. So with that, again, thank you so much. This is so good. You have to have that. You got to just bring people back to you, like you said, the circle
Yeah.
of you. So we really appreciate that. And Gen X, we'll see you next time.